Now, if you find yourself in a situation like this where you end up with an aquarium in your life, what you can do is give us a call at Majestic Aquariums. We can come around and give you a good rundown on your system and make sure that you know how it all works. We'll send you some videos to watch, some DVDs to watch, make sure that you've got that under control, and just give the support you need in order to be able to look after it yourself. An aquarium like this is surprisingly easy to look after. If you went and spent half an hour a month, that'd be about right. And then on the other hand, if you're too busy or too lazy, then you can always just give us a call. I can send one of the boys around to service it for you. And what's quite good is we can put you on our monthly call, and then we just give you a call once a month. We say, hey, look, how are you going with your fish tank? You might go, everything's under control, it's all good. Or on the other hand, you might say, hey, look, I've been a bit too lazy, I've been a bit too busy, I've been out of the country, whatever, and then we can come around and do it for you. But sometimes having someone checking on you is a really good thing, because that way it just offers that little bit of accountability, so you know that if you're not doing it, then someone's going to do it. Because the key to an aquarium is small and regular, not wait months and months and months and then have to resurrect it. Now we have a beautiful aquarium in the wall here. Now this is not an uncommon sight where it looks like there's no fish in there. Now there's definitely some African cichlids buzzing around in the bottom. But what happens with fish, particularly cichlids, is if there's not many fish in the aquarium, then they think there's danger. And if they think there's danger, then they stress. And then when they stress, what they do is they want to find a house where they feel comfortable. And then they'll become very territorial and they'll push each other around because they want to have a nice, safe place where they can live, where they can retreat and be safe. And the stress level of the fish makes them more territorial and more aggressive for their own safety. Now, as you get more fish in this tank, the fish will feel safe because the other fish are around. Like walking around somewhere late at night by yourself, you're not going to feel as comfortable as you got a group of people with you. So with the fish, the more fish you have, the more comfortable they feel, and then the more they're actually going to interact with you and not be scared of you. Now, if you add some extra fish to this tank, if you walk up to the tank, they will literally run up to greet you, and they will try to get your attention, and they will try to get you to feed them because they feel safe and they want food. If there's not enough fish in the tank, they will stress, they will want to hide more, they will become more aggressive, more territorial, and they will not swim around as much. So the first thing you'd want to do in this tank is definitely add more fish.
How many, Paul?
In this tank, you would want about 30 fish.
30?
30 fish. So what we do is we slowly increase the amount of fish. So we might put half a dozen in, then we wait 2 weeks, then we test the water. And what we're waiting for is good bacteria to grow, to break down the waste from the new fish. Then I'll test the water. And then if I give you the okay with the water, you can then add another 6 fish. Then you wait another 2 weeks. And you must put the fish in very slowly. Otherwise, they will die. Because if you put too many fish in, they produce too much waste and you don't have enough good bacteria for those fish, then the fish will die. The other thing is if you put the fish in small, they tend to grow up knowing each other and they tend to get along very well. If you put the fish in big, then they've all got their own ideas and they're used to their own life type thing, and their chance of them fighting is much more. And when adults fight, they hurt each other. When babies fight, it's not such a drama. So putting in smaller fish is safer.
So what did you say that one was called?
That one there is an Alonocara, which is a species of peacock, and that is a female. Now the other thing about fish, particularly cichlids, which are highly intelligent, beautiful fish. Now this fish here, the more you learn about each individual fish, the more you'll relate to them and the more you'll enjoy them. But this fish here in the wild has got these very large sensors along its bottom jaw. And what it'll do in the wild, probably not in the fish tank because you're not going to get the life under the fish tank, but you'll see them go and listen to the sand. And if there's something moving under the sand, they've actually got very, very powerful sonar in their lower jaw. And then they'll grab into the sand to try and eat a little worm or a little crustacean.
So before I forget, is this coral discoloured a problem?
No, it's not a problem, but it doesn't look nice. So this rock here, you've got some Texas Holy Rock. Now, Texas Holy Rock is limestone, basically, and it was once upon a time a coral. Then that breaks down after millions of years into like a limestone. Now, and that would have been a brilliant white, like hospital white. But nothing in the wild is white. White is a hospital colour. It's not a wild colour. So let's say you wanted them to be white, right? Which I have no inspiration to tell you to do that. If you go and put them in the sun will dry off all the algae. It'll become white. Then you're going to put it back in the tank again. And over a period of months, it will no longer be white. So I don't see a point in doing that. But there is quite a layer of diatom algae in here. And if you get some catfish, exactly, there you go. That's it. Put it in the sun, sun will bleach it back to white, but it'll never stay white. See, that's a much more normal colour.
So what were you saying about the catfish?
I wouldn't bother bleaching it because you're going to get to the same point anyway. If you get some Plecostomus catfish, they actually do a great job cleaning. They'll clean all this algae here.
Oh.
They're great. They're really,
So if I
really
wanted
great.
to get half a dozen fish, what would you recommend?
I will shoot you some recommendations from the shop. Now, water quality is half of fish keeping. Nutrients is the other half of fish keeping. Choosing good quality foods is one of the single most important thing for the immune system of your fish. The two foods I'd be recommending is Danichi and New Life Spectrum's probiotics. The probiotics is an amazing food because when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo eats the poo. So this stuff is great. What's so good about this stuff is it gives the water what's called a type positive charge. So it makes it harder for type negative organisms to grow in there. It'll help to keep the water really clear. I like this. This is good. Now this one here I'm not against, but I'm not a huge fan of either because it's very processed. I'd much rather the raw state foods. I don't want the heavily processed, pressure cooked sort of DV dinner. So this is, throw it at you. That's not bad, but it's not my favourite.
Okay.
So that's not going in the bin, but it's also not, I'm not going to give you any ticks for that
How
one.
often would you feed these fish?
I feed the fish 5 times a week, what they eat in 30 seconds. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the belly of the fish. So really, when we look at the fish...
I feed them twice today.
Okay, that's very nice of you, but from now on we feed 5 times a week, not what they eat in... So I want it all gone in 30 seconds, 5 times a week. But what matters
So
more...
once a day.
Not even once a day. Not every day.
So sorry, I'm going to go in the middle of the video.
That's cool.
Because they've got this, they had this automatic fish feeder,
Yes?
and I've noticed it's not working.
Okay, for me, an auto feeder is for when you go away on holidays. No, I don't want an auto feeder because I want the relationship with the fish.
Me too, so do I.
This is just for when you're on holidays. This is not what I'm using every day. So we can do some tests on it and make sure it's working for when you're on holidays. But if you don't enjoy feeding your cat, don't have a cat.
Exactly, I agree with
If you don't enjoy feeding your fish, don't have fish, you know?
Okay, I agree.
Like, you go and get a bloody computer program and
we'll
just
get
play that.
6 fish.
Now, let's stay on track. Now, see this yellow one?
Yep.
See, he's got a little bit of skinny belly.
Yeah,
See, his belly is going up.
yeah.
That means that whatever you're doing, it's not enough. Because remember how I said before, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters what the fish.
Yeah, that's why I think they ate the other fish, because before we moved in, this house has been vacant for so long.
Oh, that's very possible. So your fish are a little bit on the skinny side. So what you don't want to do is go fill them up real fast. You just want to increase the food incrementally.
So lucky I've done that.
Yeah, so we want to just slowly fill the belly. So we've just got a nice little belly. We don't want a big belly.
Just so not, yes. That's
Just
how they were
a
before.
nice belly,
Yeah,
right?
but that has been empty, that's
Yeah,
the
I know.
problem.
Well, that probably is the case. Okay, so back to water quality. So,
pH.
first degree fish waste is ammonia.
Okay, yeah, they produce ammonia.
They produce ammonia.
Like humans.
So when they feed the fish, you're feeding proteins, amino acids and so forth.
Break it down to ammonia.
Then you feed them and it comes out as ammonia. So first degree fish waste is ammonia. So we're going to test that. The ammonia is going to break down by bacteria into nitrite.
Yep.
The nitrite is going to
How's the oxygen?
break down via bacteria into nitrate. And as you just said, these are all aerobic bacteria. They will use oxygen out of the water. So if you have a filter with heaps of good bacteria and you don't have the bubbles, then you can actually create an oxygen deficit. So that's something you need to be aware of, and so a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, dissolved oxygen in the water is so important.
So we can check dissolved oxygen. We've got a dissolved oxygen test. Now, so once again, ammonia breaks into nitrite, which breaks into nitrate.
With the oxygen, plus oxygen.
As long as there's oxygen present, correct. Otherwise you get anoxic bacteria, and that can be bad.
That's very bad.
So if you get anoxic bacteria within good filter material, if you get what's called anaerobic bacteria within filter material, that's good. But if you get bad bacteria in an anoxic zone, that can be bad because that can discharge hydrogen sulfide, and that can make the fish and you sick. Yeah. So now moving on. So that's our waste, right? The other waste is phosphate, which pretty much in a cichlid tank nobody worries about. The reason being is it doesn't really affect the fish that much, and there are products to get rid of it. But in a saltwater tank, people would look at those products because changing salt water is not so easy.
Yes.
But in a freshwater tank, you just change the water more often.
Yeah, it evaporates and the guy's got a line, has got a mark.
Cool.
Where you have to maximum.
So to be clear, evaporation is not water change. But we'll explain that when we get in there. Now, okay, so let's go back to this. So ammonia breaks into nitrite, breaks into nitrate. And now nitrate is going to tell us how often you need to do water tests, water changes. If you get more nitrate, you change the water more.
More oxygen.
And then phosphate, most people don't really care about, even though you should, but nobody does. Then we've got pH, which is basically the hydroxide versus hydrogen ions, the acidity of the water and the alkalinity. So these fish like the water alkaline. Now, due to the rocks you've got and due to the sand you've got, your water's probably going to be alkaline.
Yeah, because of the limestone.
Calcium carbonate, correct. Then the buffering capacity of the pH is what's called KH.
That's the alkalinity, basically.
Correct.
Buffering.
That's exactly what it is. So we want to keep the alkalinity up, the KH up, and that will stop the pH from falling, and that will reduce the swings, exactly what you said. Now, the only other thing that we're going to be concerned about is obviously temperature. We want to keep it around 25 degrees. And then we also want to be worried about GH.
What's GH?
General hardness. And stuff like your GH salts, things like this is what's going to affect that.
Okay.
Now, this is a very low-level problem, but definitely a consideration. Because whenever we do a water change, there's three things we want to add to the water. One is a water ager. If you're doing a small water change, this is a very good water ager. If you're doing a big water change, probably go for a chemical water ager. This is much more of a mineral one. We want to add some of that to keep our GH and salts up. And then we also want to add some KH if we need it. And once I've done the test, I'll tell you if we need it. So ammonia, nitrite, nitrate are the organics that we're worried about. Phosphate, we don't tend to worry about. Silicate is something we don't tend to worry about. In a saltwater tank, we're going to worry about these things.
Sydney water doesn't have a lot of silica in it. So
It's got a little bit.
no, not much.
It's not that much. It's
Depends on
not,
where you are in the country.
it's not enough to worry about. So you don't tend to worry about silicate. You don't tend to worry about phosphate. Oxygen is something you don't tend to worry about, providing you've got good surface agitation. So, I mean, something I'd like to do on this tank, which would be a little bit optional, would be add a power head. Because the other thing is cichlids. One thing I was surprised by my visits to Africa is the fish are swimming just to stay still. Now, in Lake Malawi, there's a lot of water flow. So I'd like to see, it's optional, but I'd like to see like an Aquarel 8000 or something. You stick it on the back. It's going to turn the water over much better. Increased water flow will increase dissolved oxygen level. It will increase redox potential. And the fish tend to be less aggressive when the water's more
So what do you just
well
put
flowed.
a stir in that?
Yeah, you just whack it there and it's going to agitate. And you aim it up so it agitates the surface and gives really good water flow. That's something I would definitely like to do. About 180 bucks for a really good one. A cheap one, half that. But I'd just go for an Aquarel 8000. That's what I'd get. Reef Circulator 8000. That is what I'd put on this tank. Once I've tested your water, I'll tell you if it's okay to get some catfish. Then we want some catfish. Now, have you done any actual water changes yet?
I've only been here since 1
days.
day.
Okay, so I'm going to show you today how to do the water changes. They're super easy. I'm going to show you that.